And now we move on to the next segment of our bulletin, On the Table. Over to you, Mohana.
Thank you very much. Impact organisation Think City and DBKL recently launched the Creative KL Grants Program and the Creative KL Urban Challenge. On the table tonight, we discuss this initiative and why a culture-based economy is important for the country. With me is Ms. Izan Satrina Mohamed Salihuddin, Senior Director at Think City. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mohana. Thank you so much for having me here.
Let's begin with, perhaps you could briefly explain what the Creative KL Urban Challenge is.
Well, maybe I'll take a few steps back.
Sure.
It originates from a program called the Kuala Lumpur Creative and Cultural District. Mm-hmm. It's a cultural-based economy program that looks into re-energizing downtown Kuala Lumpur. And because we can't all do everything, it requires a multi-stakeholder approach together with Kuala Lumpur City Hall, supported by Yayasan Hasana, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and multiple partners. We also need NGOs, the rakyat, all have the opportunity to play a positive role in this, in transforming the city. Okay. So to help them transform the city, there are two mechanisms. One is a grant, which is a Creative KL Grants Program, and the other is a competition format, which is the Creative KL Urban Challenge. And it really is about, it's a hackathon format where participants are invited to pitch their proposals on what they think would make a difference to their city. And so we've received 76 applications so far. It's been really encouraging. And we've shortlisted to 15 participants, and they've pitched to 6 experts recently, and that's been shortlisted to 8. So it's really quite exciting.
Okay, and what's the background behind this? Why are we doing a competition? What's the idea, the aim, and the purpose behind that?
So if we go back to the Kuala Lumpur Creative Cultural District program, it is there because the city has been hollowing out, and it's the capital city of Malaysia. We have people leaving the city. Of course, we are going to live di Shah Alam, ke Taman Tun, in different parts of the state, and therefore also the banks are moving out to the financial districts. We have institutions and administration centers moving out to Putrajaya. So the city, as a result of that, is hollowing out. And as a result of that, it has less economic activities. Less economic activities means that maybe it's darker. The city's darker. People come through just during peak hours. They come into the city to work and then they leave. So after work, there's not much activity happening. So as a result of that, interventions were required to ensure that the city continues to thrive. We need to make sure the gem of Malaysia, which is the capital city of the country, continues to thrive in being an economic and social hub. So how do we do that? The challenge was one of the mechanisms that we thought would be good to get more involvement from the public, to potentially pitch ideas, whether it's about creating a better environment for everybody, whether it's about providing better mobility solutions, whether it's about reimagining public housing in the city. These were some of the themes that were provided in the challenge. So as you pitch and you win, you will be provided a prize, which is a grant of 200,000 ringgit, up to 200,000 ringgit, mind you, and you will have the opportunity to implement the idea that you're pitching.
Okay, so the beneficiary of this, the programs that are being pitched, so let's say the program gets implemented, we're looking at the people who live in KL, the residents of KL. And when you say downtown KL, what areas are we talking about?
Sure, sorry for that. Okay, so downtown KL really is where KL started. It's at the confluence of the rivers, and also around Masjid Jamek. So it is 1.5-3 kilometers around Masjid Jamek, and it covers the area from Taman Tugu to Merdeka 118, Brickfields to south of Chowkit.
Okay.
And now Kuala Lumpur City Hall, I think, is working on the Kuala Lumpur Structure Plan 2040, which also mentions about the Kuala Lumpur Creative and Cultural District program, but it's expanded in terms of its lens. So there's a broader view that we need to work on moving forward. But at the moment, downtown KL, we are focusing around the historical assets of the city. That's where Dataran Merdeka is at, Karkosa, Srinagar. We have beautiful colonial Merdeka-era heritage buildings, and downtown Kuala Lumpur actually has 500 traditional shop lots, shop houses still very much intact.
Okay.
So it is necessary, I think, for us to look into revitalizing our city, similarly to what many countries, what many cities around the world has done. It's nothing new, really. Singapore, Montreal has taken an approach to revitalize their cities via a creative lens. So it's all about reinventing our city all over again, re-energize it, ensure there's economic and social dividends for the people who come into the city, for people who are living in the city as well.
All right, nice. And how has the Creative KL schemes, how does this program contribute to or align with the Madani economic narrative's objective and vision?
So, yes, the Kuala Lumpur Creative Cultural District was actually, alhamdulillah, mentioned twice by Honourable Prime Minister. Once it was mentioned during the Budget 2023 initiative. So the government is heavily involved in accelerating urban renewal efforts in this program. Secondly, was mentioned during the economic Madani framework that was recently launched. So if we look into some of the values that was mentioned, like care, compassion, trust, sustainability, innovation, prosperity, it does essentially look into ensuring there is equitable distribution of dividends to all citizens of Malaysia. It's just that our lens is looking in Kuala Lumpur. So how do we ensure there is equitable distribution of benefits? It's really, for us, is looking at it in terms of reinventing the city to make sure it functions, to make sure it thrives, and to make sure it creates a livable environment for everybody.
Okay, that's nice. But in general, what are the types of, what do the projects fall into? So we spoke about getting the 15 finalists or semi-finalists. Now we have 8 finalists.
Yes.
And what areas are they looking at? Where's the focus areas for these?
So the program itself, Creative KL Urban Challenge, specifically looks into 3 themes, which is public housing, better environment, and better mobility. So better environment here could be ensuring, let's see if we could use nature-based solutions as a way to create a green environment for the city. How can we perhaps look into better waste disposal management and ensuring the city is clean? So that's the sort of...
And this is why we are partnering with DBKL.
Yes.
Okay.
So Kuala Lumpur City Hall has been very instrumental in ensuring that we are able to implement some of our programs under the Kuala Lumpur Creative Cultural District initiative, because at the end of the day, it involves the area that they are governing.
That's right.
So we do require their input, their validation to some of these initiatives. So these challenges that were evaluated by a panel of judges included, of course, funders. It included Dewan Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur. It included also the CEO of Yayasan My SDG, included Cradle, Amranti, so as to ensure that the proposals that they presented, actually is relevant. It can actually be implemented.
That's right.
And potentially also scaled up, not just in Kuala Lumpur, but if it does actually scale up in Kuala Lumpur, could it potentially be done in other cities as well?
That's right. That was something I was going to ask. So if it is a scalable program, there is a potential for it to be implemented in other cities in Malaysia as well.
Absolutely. Cross fingers and toes, but of course we're hoping that these initiatives are strong, robust, but the best test is really to get it actually on the ground.
That's right. Okay, so you mentioned environment and you mentioned mobility earlier. Could you give me an idea of what that would mean?
So at the moment, I think one of the, let's talk about environment. So one of the pitches that was presented. It's called MOSI, and you'll be able to actually engage with these final 8 participants at Pentas Seni Merdeka, Jalan Raja, Dataran Merdeka on the 9th of September. So you can actually speak to them, understand what are they actually trying to do, and whether I can actually give them input as a rakyat, and whether if I like it, I can also actually vote whether I want them to actually do this initiative. So MOSI, for example, is initiative is to really address the problem statement of having better air in the city. So they're talking about installing panels of mosses that has been around for many, many years and has thrived in tropical environments. And the role of the moss is really to clean up the air, suck all the pollution. So I think that's one. The second one, so you must forgive me, I am old, I do not remember the name of the company, but
that's okay. Mobility, perhaps.
Mobility.
Yes.
It's really about, not everyone can afford to take the current service systems that are provided by e-hailing platforms. So what they have mooted is really a system where these vehicles, it could be a car or van, only focuses in downtown Kuala Lumpur to ensure, and it's a flat rate. So you can get from one part of the city to another part within a secure and a flat rate environment. Because all they do is the drivers just only focus in circulating in Kuala Lumpur itself. They don't go to other parts of the state. So as to ensure you have that service in a timely manner, and at a fee that you can afford to pay as well.
And I think some of them also aim to have more inclusivity in terms of their project, making sure that other people who are usually on the fringe of society, being able to get themselves involved and attend programs which are being held in downtown KL.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good point that you brought up, Mahana, because at the end of this day, a successful city is really a city that can serve all citizens, regardless of background. So we need to ensure that we take into account different communities, from the marginalized, whether it's the migrants, rakyat, all must be taken into consideration, because at the end of the day, they are the users, they are the one transiting from one point to another, they are the one that's running the businesses in the city. Let's not forget our artists, our creative practitioners. We need to take all sorts of people and businesses into account.
And how can the public play a part here? So besides meeting them on the 9th, how do we vote?
Yes, most important. So after the state elections, you now get to vote at another platform. You now get to choose, go on to thinkcity.com.my and look into the different finalists, their projects, their videos posted about them. There's a profile on them. You'll be able to understand what they're doing, and you can post and vote if you would like for them to implement their platform or proposal. You see, because at the end of the day, the judges, these 6 experts that judged these finalists and selected them, their scoring is 50%. The other 50% really depends on what the rakyat votes.
It comes from the votes.
It comes from the vote.
That's pretty significant.
It is, because at the end of the day, being inclusive means making sure our people get to shape their own city, what they want the city to transform into, what sort of platforms or interventions, solutions must be taking into account their feedback as well. It's the best validation to actually speak to the people directly, and they should decide.
Thank you so much, Ms. Izan Satrina, for your time, for your insights, and for your sharing today, and all the best with the program.
Thank you, Mahana. Thank you so much. Thank you, RTM.
And that wraps up On the Table tonight. Thanks for watching. It's back to you.